Greetings and salutations, and welcome back to Path of Exile 2, or as I'm calling it, Path of Exile. And there's a reason why I say that, and the reason is rather quite simple. They're, they're not very genuine with how items work. Now, let me explain. I found a pair of boots on the druid, and I put them on my witch, right? And the boots say that I'm unaffected by slows, which sounds phenomenal. Man, can you imagine not being affected by slows? Sounds great. Except for one problem. And that is when I fought against the boss there at the manor, I was still affected by slows. Specifically his slow. And then I'm told when you hold down Alt, you get all of the stats on the weapon or on the item. And you get to see what they say. So the unaffected by slows is based upon the quality of monster you're fighting. Okay. Then why not say slows slightly reduced? Why not say slows slightly less effective? Don't say unaffected, because the word unaffected means slows do not have an effect, period. By saying the opposite, unaffected, it kind of means, well, that you are not affected at all. The problem there is that if you are supposedly not affected, then why do they still affect you? Which is just effectively lying by omission. I rolled. Don't tell me I didn't. But, people are going to sit there and say, oh, no. You really are unaffected by slows, but they're just slows of, different people. They're slows of different quality for different level monsters. Okay, well, it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't say unaffected then. It should just say slows are less effective, period. Or reduced slowing strength or something. Just don't make it sound like you're having that slows are just not effective at all. Quite literally make it sound like they're less effective. But no, not this game. For example, it'd be like if you were to play, and I'm going to continue to do this throughout the entire game, so bear with me. If you were to play Diablo, now I know people hate it when I equate this game to Diablo, but if you were to play Diablo and you were to sit down and really focus on the stuff in Diablo, when you get an item that says cannot be frozen, you cannot be frozen. It's pretty straightforward. There's no question there. There's no real guesswork. You don't have to sit there and go, do they mean cannot be frozen but only by certain mobs that are weaker than bosses? No, it's you just cannot be frozen. Okay. Pretty standard. That's kind of cool. Pretty bog standard, you cannot be frozen. Awesome. but it never seems to be that way here. And then I'm told by multiple players, a few of my friends, they say, well, you just got to use your orbs. You get tons of orbs, so just use them. Like, I know I've made this statement before, and it bears repeating almost every single time. And that is, if a game is meant to be all about the RNG, why give any player any agency at all ever? Just immediately take 100% of the player agency away. No sense in giving them any agency at all. Just remove it all. Just say, well, we were going to put this into the game for you, but no, on second thought, you don't get it because, well, the game's all RNG based, and if we gave you, player agency, you might have a problem with it. You might not know how to figure it out. Ooh, that gives energy shield. And increased energy shield. Perfect. But no, it goes further than that, because it's like, why not just make the game play itself then? Like those auto battler games. I wouldn't say Clair Obscura, but it was similar, right? Not that I know people who say, well, you haven't even played Clair Obscura Expedition. No, I haven't. But from what I could see, some of the stuff is just the game. You literally just time the parries, and that's it. Which, okay, you timed the parries. That's great and all. But they have plenty of games that quite literally play themselves, and it just takes the player completely out of the equation. So that's kind of how this feels. What would the whole, you just have to use orbs to RNG a stat you may or may not want. Okay, so I have to sit there and keep RNGing a stat and pray that I get the right one? Well, that doesn't seem very, very balanced or correct. Of course, I'll have a bunch of a bunch of purists in this game that'll be like, well, you just don't know what you're doing. You're right. I don't. I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing. But that shouldn't matter, should it? I mean, let's take a look at Diablo players. When people started first playing Diablo, or Diablo 2, did they know what they were doing? No. Did it matter? Also, no. No, it did not. But yet, people still played and enjoyed it. So why is this one any different? I think it's because people may have expected more out of this company. Like, I mean, sure, they've balanced some things about the game. But they've also ruined some things about the game. Like, I played the monk the other day. I couldn't do it. Reason being, the monk, when it starts out, gets absolutely next to no mana. So you're quite literally left with nothing on the monk. You might get 2 casts of an ability with a monk. And then the monk's out of mana completely and you have to use your mana pot. And then rinse repeat. Now, to me, that translates to bad design. And people say, well, good thing you're not a designer. True, 100%. 100%. But you gotta ask yourself a question. Why is it that we as players accept mediocrity? Why is that? Is that because we looked at the incrementalism that came before us and we're like, ah, yes, they're going to incrementally make games worse, and I'm here for it? And if that's the case, then we only have ourselves to blame, do we not? For just settling for less? And prime examples of this, it could be seen in Diablo 3 being progressively worse than Diablo 2. Path of Exile 2 being in some ways better, but in many ways equivalent / worse. Is it really, like, all things considered, is it really like our fault that we got kind of like suckered into it? No. Oop, that's gonna be bad. Yep, I died. Checkpoint's right there, so... There we go. I mean, realistically, yes. We have gotten to the point where us as players have taken a look at games and said, you know, we're okay settling for less. I mean, sequels seem to be worse than the one before it. This goes on even into, say, hold on, it'll come to me in a second. Grand Theft Auto. And I know people are going to say, wait a minute, did you just insult Grand Theft Auto? To that, I say, yes. Yes, I did. Reason being, those are better than nothing. Reason being, Grand Theft Auto has always done the same exact thing since Grand Theft Auto 3. And I hate to be that guy. Not really. But all the people that sit there and say, well, yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3 wasn't as good as the newer ones. Let's not go too far off into the weeds on that one. Because Grand Theft Auto 3 quite literally is the basis of all Grand Theft Auto games after it. If you think about it. Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2, right? They were just top-down, kind of sandbox, story-driven games. Grand Theft Auto 3 comes around, and it's just a top-down sandbox 3D game. Well, not top-down. Sorry, it's a 3D sandbox game. So what changed in Grand Theft Auto Vice City? It was an '80s theme in Miami. But okay, but what else changed? Nothing. Okay, Grand Theft Auto 4. Ah, it's a Russian migrant in kind of like a New York vibe. Okay, but what else changed? You might be able to fly planes. Wait, you could do that in Grand Theft Auto 3. You could do that in Vice City. Hmm. Oh, I know. You could take cover behind the vehicles and kind of blind fire. All right, that's a change. I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I know that came out after Vice City and before Grand Theft Auto 4. What was the difference? Aside from the storyline, like aside from the story, which most people didn't even play, they just started playing it for an open-ended sandbox experience. Grand Theft Auto 5, they added online play. And the Grand Theft Auto 5 and the Grand Theft Auto Online, the people where they were playing role playing as specific things in Grand Theft Auto 5 with other players is what made it what it was. Nothing the actual game did. It provided an online connection. That's it. It's the only thing that is different. Still a 3D game, still the same thing. And people are settling for it. And they're paying a premium for something that should not be premium. You know, why not just make a Grand Theft Auto MMO at this point? It's just a sandbox with certain quests, and your characters get stats and extra life and everything, and you could go purchase weapons, and you get earn money, and then you just do free open-ended sandbox stuff. Just make GTA MMO. Don't even make GTA 6. Scrap the idea. Make it an MMO. Let people enjoy it. Charge nothing. Give it a monthly fee. Just bring the game out for nothing and give it a monthly fee. You'd think it would work, because it would. Rockstar would make money hand over fist. A persistent world server where people are fighting over territory, making gangs. Right there you go. You could even have the police faction too. That's what I'm saying. It's like they don't have to reinvent the wheel. All you have to do is something new, something that no one's heard of, and that's all they have to do. But no, they're remaking Grand Theft Auto 3, but they're just updating the graphics. And that's it. Don't do that. You know, take a chance, make an MMO. And if you made an MMO, it'd be massive. It'd be huge. Now, people would say, okay, well, let's just think about that. If, per se, if you did that, what would happen? What would happen if you made a Grand Theft Auto MMO? Boy, I think people would go absolutely bananas for it. I think you'd have people lined up wanting to play that Grand Theft Auto MMO. Think about it this way. You make a big, persistent world. You have properties. Properties can be purchased. You can create guilds, gangs, and you have gang territory. Gang territory can be gained and lost. Gang alliances can be formed and destroyed. The cops are there. The cops are trying to crack down on gang violence. But they can't just go and be rogue. The cops would have to actually have reason to believe that this gang is going to do something violent, right? So this gang over here, which is just all player generated, is going against this gang over here, which is all player generated, right? The cops, which are now all player generated, except for the AI cops that are obviously driving around, which are going to stop once they start seeing something go down. The AI cops that are driving around would then have to tell the guild of police, so to speak, hey, there's a thing going on here, you have to respond. Otherwise, the police get reprimanded. You see? So the police would have more stringent controls on their guild. They have to respond to certain emergencies. Of course, if the players are not on, it won't go that way. But they would have to do that. So this would create a world. Now, this is a brilliant idea. So anybody that wants to do something very similar to this, except not call it Grand Theft Auto, just call it Gangland something, and then make buildings and have the buildings be purchased. Now the gangs could even buy up businesses. Those businesses would make money by the NPCs walking in and purchasing things, and other players walking in and purchasing things. This would give the gangs money to go buy other things. You'd have one gang leader. Now that gang leader could be usurped by other members of the gang if they think he's not doing a good job, you know? And then they would have to get rid of him. Kick him out of the gang, so to speak. You could do this. This could all be done. You'd have the head of the police would be a player. They'd be the police commissioner. If they're not doing a good job, they can be removed. This is all stuff that can be done with current technology. And it would be one of the best selling games of all time. It would be like EVE Online, but it would be in a city block, and you could go out and just take cars and do the same stuff you do in GTA in this. All you would need is real soft body physics on your vehicles, and then you would have to come up with a stat system. You could use Crackdown as kind of like a for instance. The more strength you have, the more damage your melee attacks do. The more dexterity you have, the faster you run, the quicker turns you can take while not only just driving, but while running. You could take quicker turns and round corners quicker. The more intellect you have, the more discounts you get on buying products, and the more money you can get off people for selling products. You can make it, and then make it so that you can customize your stats. Don't make it so, oh, you leveled up, you get this amount of stats and this. No. It's, you leveled up, here's stat points. Put them in wherever you want. You'd also have accuracy. You'd also have other stats, like driving. The higher your driving skill, the more speed you get out of a vehicle. The more granular control you get out of a vehicle. Obviously not in the middle of the sky, but the driving skill would also be for piloting airplanes, using boats, etc. And it would be people trying to build criminal enterprises, but because they don't want to be the only one, like, you don't want to get left behind, these bunch of people are creating a criminal enterprise, and this bunch of people are creating a criminal enterprise, but this people over here don't like those people over there fighting over the piece of property. And then you put property in certain areas that are going to cause conflict, which now the police are going to have to come in, and so on. Yeah. And this is why you'd have to have people in the police called detectives that do the detective work, etc., and find out who's at fault by investigating clues that would be left behind. People could make this into an MMO. They do it with swords and sorcery, with things like Archeage. You could do it in this game. And if you don't want to do any of those things, you don't want to be a gang member, you could be a transport truck driver if you wanted to do it. You could be a bus driver, a taxi cab driver. You pick up a player, the player gets in the back seat, the player says, hey, and then, of course, proximity chat would kick on and say, drive me here. And he drives there, drops him off. Money comes out of the player's inventory, goes into the other player's inventory. The bus would get money from all of the NPCs, and the bus driver would get money from all the NPCs, and it would get money for players that get on the bus, because they have to pay the bus fare. And that would come out of the city's coffers. And the city would have a mayor that's a player that would be elected, and that person would set the tax rate, and that tax rate on the items bought and sold would then go into the money coffers to then pay for stuff. So if people manage the city improperly, it goes south. Yeah, you could do workaday jobs in that game if you wanted to. This is the thing. You make it an open-ended sandbox MMO, but you make it modern era with cars and guns and gang violence and cops and you name it. You make it GTA, but sandbox MMO. It's $1 billion idea. And by the way, if anybody wants that idea, yeah. I mean, technically by posting this, it would be copywritten. But nevertheless, you can't copyright an archetype. That's the problem. This is what I'm saying. If anybody wants these ideas, just get a hold of me. I will help you in any way I can to make it a reality. And when you get that reality, it'd be amazing. You know what? I want that belt. Man, this going right down the spell line is just gross. And then you get elemental damages and resistances going this way. So you'd have to go like branch off this way, get energy shield that way. I could kind of come back and do that too. That wouldn't be bad. Sorceress seems to be like one of the best ones out there so far. I mean, I didn't want to go that far off into the weeds, but that's what happens when I start thinking of a great idea. And I start thinking of an idea, and it's like, oh wait, that's really cool, and then I just keep going and going and going. Can't wait to get to level 6. Character's what, level 4? Yeah. Level 6 I'm gonna put on that new staff and it'll be crazy. Frostbomb's kind of cool because it has a delay. Yeah, I've got great ideas. But like I said, all these companies have to do is just think outside of the box, just ever so slightly. You know, and people would say, well, some players don't want an MMO. Okay, that's fine. They don't have to play it. But if you give the players the option to get on there and have the freedom to play this role-playing game where they could be whatever they want, and no, you don't put in sort of, you wouldn't have to put in things that say, oh well, you can't say this, that, or the other thing because of reasons. No, nope, nope, nope. You don't police that. Reason being, you make it AO. You make it adult only, which means you have to be 21 or older to purchase it and play it. It's the only rating by the ESRB that is not widely used. Is adult only, AO. And the ESRB even says, right in their thing, online interactions not rated by the ESRB. Which means you just leave it as the Wild West. You let people say what they want to say. They say, oh, well, that's offensive. Okay, yeah, it probably is. But guess what? Unfortunate for you, I guess. But we're not going to change it. Sorry, that's just how it is. Wow. Got absolutely dunked by that thing. No, you just make it the Wild West in there. That way people can't say, oh, well, we need this, this, this. No, you don't. No, you do not. Increase cast speed, area of effect. Do more damage, but they have a cooldown of 10 seconds. I don't really like that. Ooh, extra freeze duration? Sounds good. Yeah, we'll go with that one, though. That increases my DPS with it. There we go. It's one of those things, though. Like, this is the stuff that people need in a game. They need this unmitigated Wild West. Nobody sitting there looming over them, breathing down their neck, telling them what they can and cannot say, what they can and cannot do. Allow people to have that freedom. And they'd say, oh, well, that's going to make a hotbed of hatred. No, it's not. You know why? Because games are self-mitigating. As much as people don't like to believe it, they are. Games will mitigate themselves. Like, players will step in and stop other players from being douchebags. It's a true story. And the reason it's a true story is because if some player is having a fun time playing a game and another player comes in and starts being a complete D-list, right? The player being a D-list is usually made fun of and pushed out. Because people don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with some guy coming in there and causing problems. Reason being, they know that if a player comes in and starts crying about something, the mods come in and go, okay, that person is now, we're going to have to start policing everybody and what they say and what they do. And by doing that, you no longer have the ability to speak freely. You no longer have the ability to play the game and to be the persona that you wanted to give, especially in MMOs, right? And people say, well, that's exactly how it's gonna go. Okay. Let me tell you something. Back in my day, as much as that sounds so much boomer unk material, as people like to call it these days, unk, which makes no sense, it's stupid. As old as it is, as old as it sounds, it was better back in the old days. Here's why. You had people playing Quake 3 Arena. They were allowed to say whatever they wanted. Nobody policed a word they said. And you want to know something? The online interactions were usually limited to GG, well played, and, you know, calling somebody a complete dirtbag because they were in an exploitative spot. Oh, that person's out there exploiting. Or that person's cheating. Generally, the cheaters, there wasn't that much cheating back then, but you'd still have these people saying that way back when. And that's about the limited interactions that people gave online when playing things like Quake. The Call of Duty lobbies are when people really went completely off the rails, right? And then, of course, the way that the reaction, for each action there's an equal and opposite reaction. The equal and opposite reaction is they started policing everything so hard that people can't say anything these days. And now you no longer have that sense of community in games. Because if one person wants to get on there and start spouting off, 1939 German propaganda, I say let them. Is it for me? No, it's not. It's not my bag. But if they want to say it, they should be able to. Right? Especially nowadays, especially in areas like let's say the servers are based in the U.S. Servers are based in the United States, which means by that ruling, the servers being based in the United States, you're allowed to have that freedom of speech. Doesn't matter where you're from. If the servers are here, you're allowed to say what you want here. That's the way it should be. And if people don't like it, too bad. Now, people would say, well, now you're going to have some local law problems. Yeah. And that's where, if you're running a company, you say, we will pay to have the attorneys go over there and fight on their behalf. And then the attorneys go over there and say, look, the servers are based in the United States. As such, all laws and regulations pertinent to the United States supersede your country's laws when on the game. Why? Because the product is here. That's the way it should be. That's not the way it is. And I tell you, when I tell people, boy, I can't wait for the world to change, that's one of the things I want to change in the world. Not because I have some sort of grandiose thing to say that people might find offensive. No. Not at all. But because you should be able to speak your mind. Period. That's it. That's it. And if people get back to that whole idea of being able to speak their mind and being able to be themselves and say whatever they want to say, and they say, "Oh yeah, but actions have consequences." Absolutely. Absolutely. And if the players want to go out and keep ganking that character because he's being a complete D-list and nobody likes him, let him. If they want to go out there and continuously keep his character dead in the graveyard and keep him in the dirt because they don't like him, let him. The mods aren't going to stop it. Moderators aren't. GMs won't. Shouldn't have been that type of guy. Well, what'd you learn? And that's how I think it should be done. I think that all interactions in the game should be handled by the players for the players. And people would say, "Wow, what if they threaten to fight one another in real life?" Okay, that's different. Now you're talking real world situation here where they're threatening real life harm. That falls into under a different thing completely. And as such, it should be investigated and dealt with. This is why you would need a moderation crew. And then all the chats, now people would not like it, but I hate to say it, but all the chats would be logged. That way, everything would be logged, everything would be found out so that if they say, oh, well, so-and-so said this, well, we'll go back, we'll check the chat log. They go back, they check the chat log, and sure enough, hey, look, it was said right there. Well, guess what? Now things happen. Right? And that would be notified up front, that all chats would be monitored. That way you can't have suspicious activity going on under the noses. Because you can't have it be completely a wide open thing. You do have to sit down and say, you know what? If this gets stated or other things get stated, there's got to be some form of kind of like a buffer zone, because you are going to have people out there who are impressionable youth that should not be on the game but will end up getting on the game because their parents buy it for them, and you have to protect them. You have to protect them from ne'er-do-wells and skullduggery and that sort of thing. That's the only reason you would have to have your chat monitored. Other than that, no. They aren't going to care if you say something. Like, if you say something horribly offensive and everybody's like, I don't like it, it's offensive. Well, guess what? That's you have to deal with it. Cope. But if they start saying something that's, let's say, risque or in an attempt to become risque, yeah, that's a problem, and that would have to be dealt with. And as such, that's one of those things that people would have to figure out and go, we have to kind of put the kibosh to it. Because you do have those people out there that are complete sleazebags that should not be around any form of online digital media whatsoever. And those people need to be obviously watched with a very strong eye of scrutiny. I'll be the first one to say that. That's the only reason you need certain. I would have to say almost that's where AI would come into play and um, have language identification and language learning models, where they could come in and kind of pay attention to that stuff, just in case um, human moderators miss it. See, because what that would do is that would be flagged and then investigated and so on and so forth. It would be set on to actual investigators. That would be different, and that's something that should be employed. Honestly, that's something that AI models should be employing across all games. Not monitoring chat for, oh, they said something that hurt my feelings, but monitoring chat for actual predatory action, monetary or otherwise, and that stuff should be forwarded on to actual authorities to investigate. That's what I think. Now, people would say, well, that's a bold thing to say. Very true, it is. But it's also kind of necessary, especially in today's society, because you got a lot of creeps and dirtbags out there. And it's not anything wild or crazy either. It's rather sensible. I should probably start putting into energy shield, shouldn't I? See, I like that one, but if I do that, I'm gonna lose energy shield. So I think I should start putting into this. Yeah, because I think I'm gonna need defensive capabilities. Because I'm kind of building like a heavy frost caster. It's kind of interesting build, to be honest with you. Is there stuff that gives armor and energy? Energy shield, armor. Wow. Half. Hail fur plate of the seal. I kind of like that. We'll go with that. Ah, there we go. Hail iron crown. Energy shield and armor. I like that. Evasion and energy shield. Armor and evasion. Armor, energy shield. Yeah, there we go. See, now we're talking. Yeah, I'll probably get rid of the Rage Brow for this. I shouldn't, but I'm going to. Because I want it, like I said, I want that energy shield. It's going to be a weird caster for sure. 100%. But, nevertheless. I'm just about done here on this play. But I think that there's a potential to make a lot of money with a game, like I said. And honestly, I would love to help somebody become part of a development crew in just that regard, right? Where it's like if you need an idea and you need to think about how it should be done and how it should be implemented, you know, it's one of those things. You got to get those people that play games in there. That way people can, you know, can actually enjoy, people that actually enjoy games and enjoy playing games and have spent a lot of time playing them, get into the whole form of making them. I'll clear out this obelisk and then we'll call it a day. This is so cool, though. Like, this whole Frost Sorceress thing is kind of really cool. This is so cool. Yeah, the Frost Sorceress is definitely the way to go. I mean, it cripples the opponents and just prevents them from actually attacking. It's crazy. Ooh, another level 2 gem. Skill gem level 2. Yeah, we're going to go with a Frost Bomb upgrade, 100%. Because Frost Bomb is kind of good. Frost Darts. Number of icy projectiles that launch toward the target. Projectiles that hit a chilled or frozen target create chunks of ice that deal additional damage impact to the ground. Consumes a cold infusion. Ooh. Sounds good to me. Actually, what we'll do is we'll just clear that slot. We'll put them there. We'll clear Spark out. And we'll put Frost Darts in there. Ooh, Support Gem. Magnified Area. Wait, what can I do here? Multi-Shot. Also lowers attack and cast speeds of supported skills while lessening their damage. Fires extra projectiles, but actually I'd like the magnified area of the Frost Bomb. That's cool. Anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed this video, and I hope everybody thinks that's a really cool idea. Now, this is going up on January 2nd. No, January 1st. So, Happy New Year to everybody. And I hope that this year is much better than 2025. I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of new stuff coming. I've got new ideas coming as well. I'll probably be streaming more in the new year, but I don't know. It'll probably be on specific, like, holiday event kind of things, as kind of like a, I don't know, almost like a promotion. But anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed this video, because I enjoyed it. I hope everybody has a fantastic evening, a wonderful tomorrow, and as always, have a good one.